right. We had 12,816 in attendance. The gate was 2.57 million. Fight of the night is Stann and Santiago. Submission of the night is Gleason Tebow. And no question on what knockout of the night was, Travis Browne. And all those guys won $70,000. Frank Mir will not be here. He went to the hospital, fractured jaw and rib. That's funny, you sick bastards? Oh, okay. Stefan Struve, Santiago, McDonald, a lot of guys. Oliveira all went to the hospital. Stann did not. He's got a broken right thumb, and he's here. Who's first? Nobody? You? Yep. You?
Matt, were you surprised that Rampage was able to defend your takedowns?
Yeah, I was really surprised. I was really embarrassed. My takedown was not really great. It was better. But I tried to keep up with Rampage. He's pretty sweaty. You know that, but it was a good fight.
Were you hurt out there at all?
I didn't feel it. I'll probably feel it tomorrow.
Matt, could you walk us through your mental state during that fight? Obviously, it was a frustrating fight for you, but you seemed to look visibly kind of defeated in the second, third round, to be honest.
It would. Oh, I think I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't, really happy with my performance. It seems like I need to go back into training and reveal my mistake. So I'll try to come back and come back.
I know this was a fight that you really wanted and that you asked for. What does it feel like now that you came up short, obviously?
Well, I didn't give out 100%, but I did all I could, But Rampage is pretty good fighting, So it's pretty good, experience when I faced Rampage. So, but I will come back again.
Awesome. And Dana, could you give us your thoughts on the main event and how it played out? Obviously, the crowd wasn't that into it.
Yeah, obviously, Rampage came out. He looked good in the beginning. He gassed out halfway through the fight, and I say it all the time. Guys got to stay consistent, got to stay busy. After the fight, Rampage said he thinks he has a fractured hand. That sucks. That's not good news. But it's what I've been hearing lately. Tons of guys getting injured. Hopefully it's not, and we can keep him busy. He's one of the best in the world, and when he's on, he's on. And tonight, like I said, he looked good early. And
you mentioned that he was one of the names under consideration for Jon Jones, and you said that you've got to make that decision pretty quick. Is that the type of performance that you can get a title shot off of, or?
Well, listen, I don't think anybody can deny, no matter what his performance was tonight, he's one of the top 2, 3 in the world. He is, period. And inconsistency, and I believe in guys staying consistent and fighting, 3 times a year. Your timing is on. You're in shape. All the tools and the skills are there when you stay busy. So hopefully his hand isn't fractured and we can keep him busy. He says it is. So.
Would it be with Jones if he's okay? Or?
Yeah, if he's okay, yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Oh, he is okay.
I keep going.
So we'll see what happens. We got to get him looked at by a doctor, and then we'll figure it out, and we'll go from there. Who's next?
I just want to ask, you guys are both locals, and I'm from Vegas 7 Magazine. I just want to know which one of you deserved the title tonight, and why?
I would say Frank won just because he actually out-wrestled me. I brought Dan Hardy in for my wrestling this week, so. As we can see, English wrestling is not as good as American wrestling.
This is for Rampage right over here. First of all, congratulations on the win. You just want to talk about your performance. Were you happy with it?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I was okay with my performance. I wanted to do a little bit more, and I knew that I could stay on my feet with Matt Hamill, but Matt had a great game plan, and I saw it as soon as got in there with him, I saw how far away he was standing away from me. I could tell he was setting me up to take me down, and he had some great low leg kicks, and it just made me not do exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to come and throw some bungalows on him and drop these big D's on him, but he's a tough guy, so I couldn't do exactly what I wanted. So I'm a little bit disappointed, but I lived though.
You dominated the fight, but how important is the finish to you? I mean, you mentioned at the weigh-in yesterday, and you haven't had one for a couple years. I mean, is that something that you're thinking about a lot lately, or are you real happy to just to get the win?
Well, no, I wanted to knock out. You guys know how I am. You guys know I like knocking people out and stuff like that. Matt never been knocked out before, so I found it out like a couple days ago. I didn't know that, and I kind of took it as a personal challenge. So I was trying to knock him out, but I ended up, hurting my hand a little bit more. Not even the fracture one, That guy got a hard head. I don't think nobody's going to knock him out. Good luck to him. He's tough. I think Matt got a long future in this sport because I'm telling you, I was trying to knock his head off.
Can you talk about the injury real quick, the hand?
Well, you know what? I didn't want to tell nobody about it. I was trying to put my injuries out of my mind and stuff. Honestly, I hurt my hand in Japan back in December, Christmas, drunken around fighting with my friend in the hallway, and then doing so. I thought it was a heel up. And I didn't know about this fight. I thought it was a heel up, and I did like a crazy jab on one of my sparring partners, and I hurt it again. And I went to the doctor, and he said it was fractured, and I told him, kiss my ass, I'm still fighting. So here you go, and it bothered me a little bit, but Don House taped my hand up really good, and it was just more scary than anything because you punch it with something broken, like a little fracture, it hurts a little bit. You just don't want to, hurt it worse. So, but I take nothing away from Matt, fractured hand or not. I still probably want to knock them out tonight.
And my last question, earlier in your career, you were known as this guy who came forward always, was always coming forward, and now you're known more as a counterpuncher. I mean, is that something stylistically that you wanted to change about yourself? And do you feel like that has changed about you in your career?
Hell no, I don't like the way I'm fighting now. Everybody trying to take me down. It's one of the things, you got to be smart. I can't go out there and just keep fighting the same way and just rushing guys, and that's the best way to take me down. And the first time I sparred in this training camp, I brought on some great wrestlers, and I did that. I was rushing forward on them, and they was taking me down. I said, oh, yeah, what the hell I'm doing? I got to sit back and counterpunch and defend the takedown, So that's when you fighting people that just want to take you down, you just got to fight a different way. And I threw some leg kicks just to shut some people up. But it was only 10 seconds left in the first round when I threw that leg kick, So y'all shut the hell up. I know Muay Thai.
Hey, Dana, this is for you. I want to comment on Rick's story. He's kind of been flying under the radar. I feel like a lot of people haven't been as aware of him. Obviously, tonight was a huge win. So where does he go? How soon can he keep his momentum going? And for you, Rick, if you could ask for somebody else, since you called out Thiago, who would you ask for next?
I actually thought it was a great fight. I know there's some boos at the end of the fight or whatever. I don't know what those people watching. Rick Story fought a great fight, and I haven't talked to him yet since the fight, but he got crushed with that knee in the third round, and the fight changed there. Thiago had a chance to jump in there and take that fight over, in my opinion, and he didn't. And Rick kept his head together, kept his composure together like a pro, and stayed in there. And he showed some big stuff tonight against a tough guy who's been in big fights. So no, I thought it was a great fight, and I definitely think he won the fight. No reason to boo.
And who would you like to call out next, though?
Well, me and my coach, Pat White, we were discussing this, and we think that the next opponent that would best suit us would be John Fitch, just because, he's the next guy in line. And, yeah, that was a good knee. my teeth actually went through my mouthpiece on that one, but, yeah.
Did it hurt?
No, I didn't feel it.
Good.
Dana, over the last few cards, there have been a lot of rearranging the card because of injuries and things like that. How stressful has it been for you? Because I know injuries are a part of the game and a part of any sport, but it just seems like there's been a rash of injuries all at the same time.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it definitely bums us out when it happens, but it's nothing to get stressed over. It's part of professional sports. Guys are going to get hurt. And like I said, we stack the cards so deep, and this has been one of those cases where both the guys get injured. Normally, we'd try to replace one of the fighters and keep at least half the fight. So it happens. Listen, this isn't the first time, and it won't be the last time.
This question is for Brian. back here. Earlier in the week, you said this was a huge opportunity for you, more so than if you had fought Vanderlei Silva. You beat George Santiago in devastating fashion. What do you feel is next for you, and how are you feeling after this victory?
Well, you know, I'm not really sure what's next for me, to be honest. I think all the top middleweights are matched up at this point. So I think for me, really, first step is just get back in the gym, get back to training, and continue to improve. You know, when you just finish a fight, it's actually one of my favorite times to train because there's no expectations put on you. You can literally just get better at everything. So I'm really pleased with the win. I'm sure people are going to say that George was overrated or something now because he lost, when I'll tell you right now, being the guy that was standing across from him tonight, he's not. His ranking is very just, and he deserves it. And it was just an honor to have the opportunity to fight him, and I'm thankful to the UFC that they gave me the first shot at him.
And a follow-up on that for Dana, what do you see next for Bryan, and your thoughts on his performance?
What he said's correct. You know, when Santiago was over in Japan, everybody was talking about how he'd come over here and wipe out the 85-pound division. You know, this guy was a legit guy. He's on his way to becoming a superstar. You know, Chuck came up to me tonight after his fight, and said, you know, when he used to fight in Lemoore and the WEC, you know, I never thought he'd get to this level. He says, this guy's getting really good. You know, not only, you know, skills are his skills getting better. Everything that comes out of this guy's mouth is a home run. He's on his way to becoming a superstar.
Can I get? Okay. Hi. My questions were actually similar to you, Stann, and that is just, you know, Santiago seemed to slip and fall very early on in the fight, and he seemed to slip a few times. Were you surprised by his performance? Can you tell us what it was like being in the cage with him tonight?
No, I wasn't surprised by his performance. I think, you know, he did what he had to do. He couldn't just lay back in this fight and, you know, have me just chase him around and try and hope for a takedown or a judo throw. I think he came over here knowing that the expectations in the UFC are to put on exciting fights, and he wanted to do that. So he came after me a little bit. I think a lot of his slips were due to leg kicks. He fell twice because I kicked his inside leg out from under him. And, you know, I wasn't surprised by her performance. I think it went as we both expected us to do, and that was a good, exciting fight.
You know, there were lots of chants of USA, USA. How did that make you feel? Did you hear those chants?
You know, I did hear those chants, and obviously it's a career moment for anybody, you know, that could be there in that kind of environment. There was a lot of veterans in the crowd tonight, to include parts of SEAL Team 6, which I don't think any of you guys really know about, but they're actually here tonight. So it was an honor, and more so, they weren't chanting for me. You know, that was across the world in bars and people's houses across America where people were chanting, and that was credit to be bestowed upon the men and women who serve our country.
It was a great way to kick off Memorial Day weekend, for sure. My next question is for you, Rampage, and that's just, you know, we're hearing that you are likely to get the title shot against Jones. Have you been following Rashad and Jones' feud?
No, not at all. I figured anybody that knows Rashad, they're going to have a feud, so I've just been doing my own thing.
Do you expect to have any words, any kind of Twitter feuds or anything with Jones, or how do you feel about him?
Well, I don't really know Jones, so, you know, I don't got nothing against him as of yet, just that, you know what I'm saying, he has my belt, because I feel like, I still feel like I didn't lose that belt. You know, I'm still salty about that, so I feel like... She's nice. So that's the only thing I got to do with him, but it's not his fault that he got my belt. It's my fault.
Question for Travis Browne. Travis, congratulations. Great knockout. Take us through the final moments before you landed that Superman punch.
You know, leading up to that, it was I was just starting to find my rhythm. It's so hard to find somebody that's 6'11" to try to spar with and find range and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely an adjustment that I had to make during the fight. But one of the things that I noticed is every time we'd separate, he'd try to come in with one of those knees. And I, you know, probably about two combinations before I actually landed, I was thinking about it. And then I heard my corner yell it, and, you know, the rest is history. So,
how satisfying was that?
Oh man, it was so great, especially after the Congo fight and coming to that draw. You know, looking forward to this fight and showing people what I can really do in this heavyweight division. And to know that, you know, Mr. Dana White and Joe Silva believe in me to put me out there and fight a guy like Stefan Struve.
Quick one for Roy Nelson. Roy, talk about your performance tonight. I was told that you've been sick. Did that affect you tonight? Just tell us a little bit about your performance.
No, I think the only thing that affected me was Frank was big, so I think the gym time thing kind of screwed me up a little bit. I just need more gym time. No, Frank had a good game plan. He just out wrestled me, so I'm gonna penalize Dan for showing me his, British wrestling. But besides that, it was just, Frank's at the hospital. I'm here, so. It's just one of those things. He just out wrestled me, and he's just a big guy to get off you.
Yeah, my question is for Rampage. You outboxed him and you overpowered him. What do you think that you needed for a KO?
Who's talking to me?
You overpowered him and you outboxed him. What do you think you needed for a KO, or did you just gas out, or?
I think I needed a hammer for a KO.
You mean he could take a punch?
That guy can take a punch. I hit him with everything but the toilet.
Quentin, you had mentioned earlier this past week that you would maybe only have a couple years left in fighting. Is that correct? First of all?
Well, I said I don't want to fight past 35, but
Okay.
there's a lot of things that I don't want to do that I do.
All right. Well, is it more important to you to get the belt or big money fights that maybe guys who don't have the belt, maybe marquee fights, super fights, if you will?
Dana, should I be honest? Because I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes when I answer questions, then I get a phone call from Dana. Then me and him don't talk again for a couple of weeks.
You can be honest.
I can be honest?
Yeah.
Man, I'm all about that money, homie. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Honestly, I want to be the highest paid fighter in the world. That's why I come and try to excite everybody all the time, make it laugh, go and try to slam folks, try to knock folks out. That's why I've been trying to give Dana little hints and stuff. Like, look at me, I'm very marketable. Pay me. That's all.
For Rampage over here.
Where you at?
Right here on your.
I can hear you.
Left on your left.
Oh shit, this guy. The hell you want?
Well, congratulations on the win, first and foremost.
That means a lot coming from you.
Thank you. Earlier this week, you were talking about your entrance music and how you weren't going to use the Pride song, so I was curious to hear what you chose. And I might be looking into it a little too much, but the lyrics were one more road to cross and one more risk to take, and I was wondering if there was any significance to that.
Haven't you guys noticed anything about my entrance songs for my fights? It's always got something to do with my fights. You guys haven't noticed that yet? Y'all don't see that I'm a genius, that I don't, y'all haven't noticed that yet about my fights? It's more to Rampage than Rampage. Y'all got to really look in and see what's going on and stuff. Go back and watch my old fights and listen to the walkout songs, and then you'll see like, oh, it is like Machida. We both came from Pride, and I told her where I want to get back to like my Pride status. I try to do the slam that I did in Pride. You know what I'm saying? It's this and Matt Hamill was like, I ain't fighting for the belt. Dana promised me the belt long time ago. After I knocked out Vanderlei ugly ass. He ain't here, is he? You know what I'm saying? And so there's one more road to cross, and I crossed this road barely, but I got across. I barely crossed it, but I got across. So you know what I'm saying? That's why that song. So if I fight my next fight, who knows what I'm coming out to? It might be something about breaking bones or something. Who knows? If I fight, Bones Jones, that's his name, right? John Boney Jones.
What's the severity of your hand injury?
What'd you say?
How injured is your hand?
Man, you got to use lamest terms when you talking to me, homie. Come on, man. Don't be trying to show your education up here, man. Come on, dog. Don't do me like that.
The hand.
What about it? What you want to know?
Your hand.
What about it?
How hurt is it?
It's not hurt enough to whoop your ass right now. No, I'm gonna go see the doctor. I'm gonna go see the doctor maybe Tuesday, cause But I see this little finger right here is swollen. Honestly, it is. I know it's bad, but this finger right here is swollen. So I gotta check that out. I don't know what was that, but Don House did an excellent job of wrapping my hand. I don't know if you guys understand it, but fighters, saying the UFC, I ain't kissing Dana's ass, cause fuck Dana. I ain't gonna lie. But they do take care of their fighters. They got guys in the back that wrap your hands and stuff like that. Cause I got good coaching and stuff like that, but everybody don't know how to wrap hands like professional people. You know what I'm saying? These guys in the back take good care of you, and I told him, like, man, my hand messed up. Wrap it good, and he did a great job. A lot of organizations don't do that for you, and that's one thing where you have to respect the UFC because they take care of you even if you get hurt in training and stuff, and you know what I'm saying. And these guys are already trying to send me to the doctor and stuff. You know, I ain't gonna lie to you. Other organizations are like, all right, bye, homie.
Just one more, sorry, for Demetrious Johnson, not for Rampage. Considering you just beat a former champion, and you know, obviously Faber and Cruz are fighting, do you consider yourself the #1 contender after Faber?
That's up to the UFC, you know. My job is just to come here and fight and go back to the gym and get better. So it's up to Dana White and Joe Silva and Sean Shelby.
This one's for Travis. Do you have you said you wanted to kind of show what you can do. Do you have an idea of a guy you'd like to face next? And also to Dana, kind of similar question. You know, where do you think Travis is? What do you think you might want to do next with him?
You want me to answer that first, or Mr. Dana White? You know, I think Dana White and Joe Silva, they're in the position that they're in because they put together great fights. That's not my job. That's their job. I'm there to beat anybody that they put in front of me. So, you know, it's just at this point in my career, I'm just blessed to be a part of the UFC and to get the chance to fight and put on a show for you guys like I did tonight. You know, I'm constantly looking to move up. You know, Mr. Joe Silva, Dana White, they've done such a good job with me for my past 3 fights that I just leave it in their hands to you know, continue doing their job.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for Stefan Struve. Great record. Guys had some great fights in the UFC, big comebacks, and it was a big win for him tonight. Big win. Definitely puts him in the mix.
For Demetrious, please. Obviously, it was a very closely contested fight throughout. Can you tell us how you felt at the end of 15 minutes? I mean, were you confident that your hand was going to be raised, or was there a little bit of doubt there?
You know, after the first round, I kicked Miguel, and he checked, and I felt like I broke my leg, you know, when I stepped back. And so, you know, I knew he won the first round, but it was kind of controversial. You know, me and him were going back and forth. You know, we both had heel hooks on each other, just back and forth scrambles. And then the second round, you know, I think I controlled it a little better on the wrestling. And then the third round, you know, I think I beat him up on the feet. You know, he's supposed to be taller, 76-inch reach. I'm 66. I was pushing forward, and I was hurt. So, but I was very happy about my performance, and I'm just happy to come away with the W tonight.
And there's a little bit of controversy on the internet right now. A lot of people are saying, hey, I think Miguel maybe won that. You know, Demetrious did great keeping top position, but, you know, he was rallying off submission after submission after submission. What do you point to when you say, hey, you know, I do think I won that fight? What is it that you point to?
Oh, I mean, you're looking at the feet, you know, I don't think he hit me once on the feet, not once. And on the ground, you know, I control the top and the wrestling, so there's 2 parts of the aspect of the game right there. I mean, he was throwing submissions, but he couldn't finish me. And I passed guard, and I kept on coming and coming, and I was hurt. I never backed up. I always came forward. So that's my argument right there.
So for Roy, please, obviously you said you got out-wrestled tonight, but, you know, he was pretty dangerous in the tie clinch as well, a lot of knees and things like that. You slowed down, both guys slowed down a little bit, but as it went on, was there any damage from the strikes, or, you know, was it conditioning? What was it that kind of slowed you as time wore on?
I think the biggest thing is, you know, going up to Toronto, I got the Canadian flu bug. But, no, I think most of it was just, you know, Frank's just big. And, you know, just got to get bigger, stronger, you know, faster. I think that was the only thing that, you know, the stand-up, not so much. You know, I didn't even get hit that, you know, I think the only thing that hurt me, or not even hurt me, but like hit me clean was an elbow that was when I was on my back.
I saw some knees.
Not the knees, yeah.
the knees hit my elbows. You know, so I blocked.
I thought one hit your chin. My bad.
But no, for the most part, I didn't get hit. You know, I blocked a lot of things. I learned a lot from the Dos Santos fight. So it wasn't that. It was just I just moving a lot of weight. And then when I got, you know, out wrestled, it just, you know, I was just like, it's a big man to get off. But I kept on getting up. So that's all that mattered.
Obviously, it's not a new question for you, but you talk about getting bigger, stronger, faster. A lot of people say, man, Roy would be outstanding if he would consider 205. Is that ever even a consideration that maybe rather than get bigger, maybe get smaller?
Or if he would consider 240, maybe.
Like I said, more gym time. No, it just it's really just bigger, stronger, faster. Like it, and just go out there and just push the pace. There wasn't nothing. I just got out wrestled because my mindset was a little bit different than, mine was just hit Frank in his face more than he hit me, and I just got out wrestled. He Frank was just strong, and then when I got on the ground, the only thing I had to do was just get him off me. I wasn't worried about submissions. I wasn't worried about anything else. It was just I got to get back up, and that's all it was. And that's what won him the fight was the takedowns. It wasn't the stand up. It wasn't anything else. It was just the takedowns.
And lastly, for Bryan, obviously this is an emotional fight for you. You were very emotional after the fight, but you also got down next to George and had a few words for him. Can you share with us, what you shared with George during that?
Yeah, I just told him straight up that it was an honor to face him and that he's a true champion. Thank you so much for the opportunity. When we go in there and you get the top level guys on any given night, anybody can win or lose. And so the fact that it was my night, I know what it's like to be down there laying on the mat, looking up the lights, having lost. It's a really tough feeling. But, I think that as long as two guys go out there and fight very hard, both efforts should be celebrated. But as fighters, we have the tendency, after you lose, you go home, you want to close the shutters, you don't want to look at anybody. You feel ashamed because you lost your fight. When it's really not the fact. If you go out there, do what you're paid to do by go fight hard, you should be proud of yourself. And I just wanted to let him know that I really value the fact that he fought me. He's a guy that when I'm 40 and I look back on my career, I'm going to tell people, hey, here's a guy I fought. Because when you look at his past fights, they're pretty darn amazing.
This question.
That was good. That was good.
Thanks, Rampage.
This question is for Travis. If you look back over Struve's last couple of fights, it seems like he's a guy that hasn't really been in it until he's been rocked a couple of times. After you hit him with a couple of good ones, were you a little cautious going forward?
No, I mean, once we clinched up, I really realized how, because, he had put on some size and stuff like that, and being training partners with, like, Phil Davis and Brandon Vera and even Joey Beltran, those guys are strong, man. But once I clinched up with them, I realized how that was my strength, you know what I mean? And so we clinched up, took them down, beat them up a little bit. But, no, I mean, the first round, I think that's my style, is just coming for you. Like I said in my pre-fight interview, I'm coming fast, coming hard, you know what I mean? So that's my style.
A question for Matt. Matt, are there any positives that you can take away from a fight like this against a guy like Rampage, who you asked for in a main event, biggest fight of your career to date? And where do you see yourself going forward?
Well, I still have a lot of work, I mean, the way I fought on Rampage, it's a good fighting, it was the first time being a former UFC champ, so it was a good experience. So I just have to go back in the gym and find out what's wrong, because it seems like I'm backing down, then I just, get back up.
And for Bryan, please, we spoke earlier in the week. You said your goal for this year, at the start of the year, was to break into the top 10. 2 fights and 5 months in, I would say you've done that with the performance tonight over George. What do you set as the new goal for the rest of the year?
Is to be the number one contender, to get to put myself in a position where I could fight for the title one day, and really that's as much in the octagon as it is in the gym. I think I'm still about 2 years out until you'll see the best Bryan Stann there can be, which some people may get discouraged. It actually encourages me because I know that there's still so many areas that I can continue to get better, and I think that makes me dangerous for anybody else who's going to fight me.
For Travis, after your fight, you mentioned a name of somebody that you were dedicating the fight to. Can you tell a little story about what that was all about?
Yeah, his name's Rick Barton. When I kind of had a tough time, coming up, and right out of high school, I was basically out of my house, and they took me in and like, let me stay with them. And Josh Barton, who's his son, is one of my best friends, and him and his family have been like an adopted family to me. And this last year he's been going through like I think it's called like neuropathy from like adult onset diabetes. So he's like constantly in pain, and you just see him kind of struggling and stuff. So I wanted to dedicate this fight to him, especially with that knockout.
For Demetrious, this was kind of asked, but when the fight was over, what were your thoughts as far as were you thinking I've got it, or were you thinking like hope I got it?
first I was hoping my leg wasn't broke, but you know, I think I did enough to, in the judges' eyes, to let the world know that I won the fight. You know, I mean, Miguel Torres is a tough fighter. I mean, he's a world ex-champion, and he has a very slick ground game. You know, but I was able to keep on moving. I made a lot of mistakes, so I got to go back in the gym and fix that. So next time I fight, you know, I don't expose that weakness that I did tonight.
You never know you got it in this sport.
This is for Brian. A lot of the comments that we get on our interviews with you are that people would love to see you fight Tim Kennedy. I know, you know, for the whole military thing, and Dana, I know that you know do the fight for the troops and stuff. We haven't really gotten crossover fights yet with Strikeforce, but Brian, does that even interest you? And is that something, Dana, that you could even see possibly happening?
Absolutely not. Does it interest me? Tim is a very close friend of mine. We're cut from the same cloth. I don't see a point. But if it's one of those things where, you know, if that's the path for us to be a champion, then, I mean, we train together, so we fight each other then anyways. But I can tell you right now that that's a fight that will never interest me. I appreciate Tim for much more than just what he represents in fighting, and neither of us would ever really be interested in fighting each other unless it was what we had to do.
Yeah, this question for Dana.
Hey.
Yeah, during Rampage's intro, you had said he's the greatest knockout artist in the UFC. After seeing Travis Browne's fight tonight, has that sentiment changed?
Does what? Does that sentiment change?
Yeah.
I think we said. I don't think we said he's the greatest knockout artist in UFC history. I said he is one of the knockout artists in the UFC. You know, there's a lot of guys that knock people out, and Rampage is one of them. And now, so is Travis Browne. He's ragging on me for calling you a knockout artist.
How many people he can knock out?
We'll take one more question.
Yes, question for Brian, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You've said in the past that your skill set has to catch up to your athleticism. After your past 3 performances that you've had, what are your thoughts and how do you feel about that now?
You know, I feel like I'm getting there. A lot of people credit the weight cut, which was certainly something that needed to happen, but the weight cut really happened at the same time that I began to really become well-rounded and really focus on a lot of wrestling. You know, my jiu-jitsu is much better than people realize, but the limiting factor there was really my wrestling, and I focused a lot on that very hard on the last 2 camps. So, like I said, I think it's going to take another 2 years. I'm still getting better. There's still things for me to learn, and that's encouraging for me knowing that, you know, I'm only going to fight top guys now. So I'm excited for the future.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.